To order, do you want to start recording? Thank you. Okay, so, let's approve the.
It's
June minutes.
Yeah.
There is one edit though that you mentioned.
So the one edit I had to the June meeting minutes was just the person in charge of the bandstand. It was to fix the Kevin Devon to Kevin Kelly.
Yes, okay. So, are you guys here? Whoops.
When we all checked our phone.
Were you guys here in, no, you weren't here in June.
No, we were listening in on the June.
Yeah, but
Yes.
you couldn't vote on, you can't vote on the minutes.
Right.
Oh, I wasn't here in June.
I wasn't here too.
I was here in July.
Yeah, we had to have had a quorum, right? I believe it was you, me and Paul.
All right, so 1, 2, 3.
There's somebody else that was here. It says it on the minutes. You don't have a copy of the meeting minutes from June, do you?
From
June,
I
I was here June.
Oh, okay.
Gina, Paul, and Fran.
Oh, so you were here.
I was
Oh,
here
so it was
too.
when Fran.
July.
Okay,
So July one.
So,
then.
Gina, do you want to make a motion to approve them with those, with that edit?
Motion to approve the June meeting minutes with the amendment to Kevin Devon to Kevin Kelly for the person in charge of the bandstand.
Okay. All those in favor?
Aye.
I mean, I can't vote right.
And I.
It was in your email, right?
Alright, Paul said aye.
Opposed? The minutes to the June 2023 meeting have been approved with edits.
I saw your email, so I will edit it.
So who did the July minutes?
I probably did, but I haven't done it yet.
Oh,
Yeah.
Cause that meeting is
Did I
now
do that?
recorded.
Okay, so if we do a quick around the room introduction, then I'll give my remarks and we'll move on to Mrs. Canfield.
Susan Day Leader, Aqua Trust,
EDC.
EDC, whatever.
Gina Savage, EDC.
Susie Hofmeister, EDC.
Barry Carlin, EDC, first time in person, thanks for welcoming.
Okay.
Grace Gardner, EDC.
Sue DePisa, EDC. Those on Zoom.
Paul Barkowitz, EDC.
Karen Canfield, Select Board Liaison.
Linda?
Linda Ferguson Advisory Committee.
Okay, great, thank you. Welcome, everyone. We're excited about the initiatives that we're embarking on this year. EDC has demonstrated over the past couple of years that we're committed to the promotion of tourism. Obviously, we've been doing that for maybe 2 years in Scituate. So we've had many conversations with the visitor center and the town, and we'll continue to support that mission because their success will benefit the town economically. We support business growth and overall small business in Scituate. EDC, as everyone knows, is funded by meals tax, and the continued work of the visitor center provides the best opportunity for that increased revenue for small businesses and the town. So tourism, let's note, also benefits the residents of Scituate. One of the top goals stated in the 2014 EDC study is to develop a growing and thriving tourism industry with more amenities and programming year-round. I'd encourage all of you to read it again because it was quite enlightening again. It's on the website, on the EDC page. It's an interesting and very relevant set of goals and strategies that has the potential to be really great to improve tourism for Scituate and enhance the lives of the residents. I'd also suggest that you take a look at the Master Plan 2020, which is was most recently completed. In it, in one little portion of it, it said in order to grow the tax base needed to fund expensive infrastructure projects, the town will need to devise a strategy for sustainable economic development. One way to do that is to better leverage Scituate's attractive resources to enhance the tourism industry and capture more revenue. Scituate has a unique opportunity to combine coastal and inland tourism by leveraging access to Scituate Harbor with access to trails and conservation land. The town should consider a marketing program that incorporates both and ties access from the commuter rail to access by bike or shuttle so that visitors do not have to drive. So that again puts the seal on that. There's no question we have lots of work to do in this area, but we're well on our way, and EDC should be proud of what we've been supporting on these efforts. And as the town has also demonstrated support, so we are working together on that. We've heard a lot of conversations from the visitor center group. We know that the town must do a better job preparing for visitors and residents' enjoyment as well. The obvious preparations are restrooms, landscaping, transportation, parking, historical attraction access, harbor Wi-Fi, and most importantly, provide excellent communication to the public. So I think that EDC is the vehicle that will lead these improvements and the quality of the visitors and residents' experience. Tonight we'll hear from EDC members Grace and Barry about their preliminary plans for pulling a lot of these things together with a suggestion to complete business and resident surveys, bring various committees and business groups together, and strategies to act on the information they gather. The final piece of their work, and arguably probably the most important, will center on how we can enhance communication within the town, coming from us, so that we can engage more people and achieve economic development. So we've got the introductions all done, and maybe we can hop right to Mrs. Canfield with her report, and I do have two questions, two long ones. But if you want to jump in and give your report.
Sure, that's a little tough to follow, Sue. That was a great recap. I have some notes. I did send them to you and Gina in case you want the cliff notes for the minutes, but
Okay, great.
at the last meeting, I reported that the select board was meeting for our annual retreat and that we would discuss priorities. We have had that meeting. And obviously we can chew and walk gum at the same time, but we'd like to really focus on a few things that are goals for the year. This year, as has been in prior years, we are focusing on sewer for North Scituate, and you can expect to see in a future capital budget, probably fiscal 25, because we're just starting that work now, is to dedicate money for designing how to get North Situate's sewage to our plant. This does not mean we're abandoning conversation on regional. It just means we're not waiting on them. So that is progress. The second is the old gates reuse is a key priority. We are at the moment expecting a proposal for a affordable senior housing developer is interested in the site. So we're looking forward to that proposal because that could be a really good fit for that site. As you just mentioned about communications, I'm very happy to report that was one of the other main priorities of the town was to, now that we don't have reliable local media and everybody's got, information is 6 ways to Sunday, our board felt it was really important to beef up how we communicate mostly to residents, but to anyone that is an interest in our town business. So right now we are beginning interviewing candidates for the brand new media outreach specialist, which is a part-time position that was approved by the board. We had over 40 really good applicants, which was excellent. And so I'm confident that we will find somebody that will help us to help the town get news and information out to folks. The primary focus is going to be town business, but I can see that evolving as we get our feet under us on that. And the last thing that we're focusing on is taking a hard look at our fiscal planning. If you've been paying any attention to the state funding, the state's in the red right now, and that makes all of us nervous about what our budgets are going to look like from state funding, because that's where a lot of our funding comes from. So we're taking a look internally of how do we maximize use of the available funds that we have to make sure that we can continue to meet the residents' needs. So those are the four primary things we're going to focus on along with everything else. For other updates, I wanted to let you know that, if you don't know already, the special town meeting has been scheduled for, for October 16th. The warrant includes mostly, it's special town meeting, so there's mostly housekeeping stuff. But we may have one or two CPC articles that we'll be bringing forward. A couple of capital items. I don't know yet because they haven't been presented yet. And there are two citizens petitions that will be on the warrant. One is for a revision to the dog leash license or bylaw. And the other is for $7 million allocation to Cedar Point for seawall repairs. Both those petitioners and as well as CPC will be before the select board tomorrow night. I think they're presenting around 7:00 with an introduction to those articles. I don't imagine the board will vote on them tomorrow night, but we will be getting their presentation. Other updates, I don't know if this group is aware that there has been a keen interest from a group of advocates to build pickleball courts in Scituate.
Today.
They're very enthusiastic. They had come before our board last week, hoping to get us to bless one of two sites that they proposed. One was North Scituate and the other was behind Town Hall. Neither of those were desirable to the board, with a lot of input from North Scituate businesses in particular. So they went back to the drawing board and they're working more closely with Recreation to see if they can find a location that's more suitable. But they are very excited about that, and that could potentially be a CPC request down the road. The lantern room on the lighthouse right now is scheduled to be delivered back to Scituate on Halloween. So they're making great, the lantern will be done long before that, but they have to repair a lot more of the brick than they thought. So it's been pushed back. And I also want to let this group know in particular, I almost want a drum roll for this, but I've been told by the town administrator that the new position, which is replacing the old planning and economic development position, it will now be elevated to sort of planning and economic development / assistant town administrator, is expected to be posted. I'll say very soon. I expect this week, but we'll wait till it's posted. So that is that was another thing that the board really, wanted to see done. So I'm excited about that. The last thing that I have on my list is tomorrow night, the board is meeting. We will be having an update on the water treatment plant construction. If you're interested in that, there'll be a slideshow of the current renderings. They are on budget and on time for the design, with construction expected to begin in May of 2024 and being online by July of 2026. So that's a big deal. And we will continue to be interviewing for boards and committees, and the Bicycle Commission should be up and running soon, which is the newest commission. And finally, we will end that meeting in an executive session to discuss litigation regarding the agriculture pilot program, which has started. They have gone out and seeded. There are 3 licenses out there and 3 acres of water. AG has told us that it is absolutely our right to use those waters as we see fit. However, the abutters continue to think that there's been a mistake made and are going to talk to us about that in court. So that's my update. Is there any questions?
All right, well,
Was that diplomatic enough?
Yeah, you answered both of my long questions.
Good.
The first one was the piece about the director of planning and development. I mean, we've been waiting. I just want to, put this on record. We've been waiting a long time, and I think there's a big void here without that person. And once they get in place, I think it will help a lot of different channels of communication. So that was the first thing. The second thing was the sewer, like, come on. What's happening here, really? I think you have told us, hopefully.
Yeah.
Go ahead.
But is it true that you put fiscal budget for 2025 to design a way to get it to our sewer plant? So
So-
you're not starting before 2025 with the design?
We did not allocate the monies in 2024 for that. And we can't spend money that hasn't been approved at town meeting. I know that the sewer department, this is not a new, they know we've been pushing towards that direction for a while. So it's not like nobody's thinking about it, but we need to get the funds allocated to actually, hire the right engineers to figure things out. So the internal work is already commenced because we've given that directive to our town manager. But as you know, all of the, especially when it comes to infrastructure, it just, you have to allocate the funds and you have to do it in a very methodical way. And so, we're happy because rather than waiting to see if maybe we'll get lucky and magically make friends with our neighbors and have a regional sewer, we'll still work on that. If that happens, that's fine. But the same process would occur. We would have to go and get funding for design of that if we were to go in that direction. So
does it make sense that if the goal is to put that money into fiscal 25, between now and then, wouldn't it make sense to put the word out there that business owners, or building owners, I should say, could start to think about redesign, selling, whatever they're going to do, and have those designs ready for when the time comes and the design is in place?
And what
I
is the
think what we
timing?
need, I'm sorry, is someone speaking?
Sorry.
I think what we need to do is set up a timeline, that is
Yeah.
reasonable expectations that are,
Realistic.
and it's complicated because we directed the town administrator to do parallel tracks. So we're doing I&I remediation to make sure that we have room in the plant at the same time that we've said, let's assume we're going to be successful so that we don't wait, 2-3 years for that to say, okay, now we have room, so there's,
Right.
it's a timeline we can definitely build, and it'll have little points that say things like, assess the capacity in the plant. Do we take the next step, concurrently? But yeah, I will definitely be we're getting an update from the sewer folks. I'll let you know when that is. It has not been scheduled for this week, to talk specifically about the capacity side of the equation. And then and I think that would be the right time to talk about building a timeline. But you're
Yeah, because
right.
I think for the business owners, it'd be really helpful,
Yeah.
because they don't know, there's, rumor, am I gonna be kicked out down there, blah, blah, blah,
Right.
like, are they gonna build something big? So I think that would be really good. Is it gonna be
Yeah.
a 2-year plan, 5-year plan, 10-year plan,
Yeah, one of the
just for
things,
the
that's
businesses down there?
what I was thinking, Karen, is that we're losing trust in the process. And, we know, we're listening to what's happening, and we know that it's just a very, very, very slow process, and that there is some issues with relationships with Cohasset. And I just think maybe again, it comes down to the communication of it. If people knew, okay, well, it's gonna be 2025, they're gonna just, like that timeline, and just getting that information out there will be much more helpful than them making things up.
I think that, yeah, we're a little premature on that, but absolutely.
Yeah.
And one thing I didn't mention, which I hope this board is aware of, this week, the state legislature thankfully tweaked the MBTA community affordable housing piece. So the original ruling was you had to have all housing and you couldn't have mixed use. And all communities said, well, that's crazy,
Right.
And they finally tweaked the regulations or whatever they're called, and now we can have mixed use, which is really what
Huge.
fits.
Yeah.
But it didn't make any
what our
sense.
zoning is
Yeah.
now in place. So
Good.
Good, okay.
Okay, I will report back on that when I have more. I think it's the worst thing would be to tell people, to your point about credibility. I don't want to say to folks, okay, we expect this to come online
Yeah,
whatever
Yeah,
year.
I get
and
it.
not be right.
Yep.
Yeah,
yeah, I just think a constant flow of information, of communication, maybe
Yep.
even the website or, you know.
I need
I
a
think what-
special communication person. First job.
Karen, when we had this one meeting, the North Scituate Village meeting, you know, the friend, I think it was an
Oh, it was a while ago.
information, it was years and years ago, 2018, I think,
Yeah.
maybe.
Yeah.
When we had this big meeting where, I don't know, I think 200 people showed up, a lot of
They
North
were
business,
Yes.
North Scituate business owners, a lot of residents from North Scituate to Minot Beach. They all showed up because they all wanted to know what are the plans for sewer, you know. And North Scituate Village was in a really disrepair and it looked really, really bad at that time. A lot has happened, but I think it would be great to have another such meeting. You know, to really have a meeting, update people, you are doing your work, these are, you know, the hurdles we have to take, these are our plan B, we are working on that. I think it would just be good for the residents and the business owners. to get
Well,
that.
also, if there ever was something like that meeting was actually about the rezoning in North Scituate. And the only thing people wanted to talk about was sewer.
Right.
So they were angry about it, and rightfully so. So I would say if they have a meeting, it should be just about that topic.
Yeah.
And have someone who can really speak to it.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
I think that's
Whereas-
a great
yeah.
idea and, you know, combine, if, we'll certainly be getting our media person on soon. So that'll be helpful too, and just getting the word out. But, yeah, I think we really need, I really want to do that, but I want to make sure that I've solid.
Yeah, we have the right information, yeah.
Yeah, and once we get the right information, even if it is, just say 10 years out, then businesses know, okay, I have 10 years to, you know, put money towards my business and to expand it or do what I wanna do. But if people think it's coming in 2 years, they're not gonna do anything right now, because
Right.
they know that those businesses are gonna go down. You know, like some of the buildings are gonna go down, so
Yeah.
why are we putting money? But if 10 years, that's a big difference than 2 or 3 years.
Right.
So, you know, once you do get that timeline, then it'll be good for all of us down there to know.
Speaking as business owner.
Yes,
Yes.
yeah.
Yes.
Because then we know.
I will, in my liaison report tomorrow night, I'll make sure that I mentioned to the board and to the town administrator that is that a public information meeting needs to be scheduled as soon as just so we all are thinking about it. It's not just me remembering.
Yeah,
I'll mention that tomorrow. Is there anything else that this board wants me to mention? Because part of my job is to tell the board stuff from you guys. Is there anything that you want me to bring back to the board tomorrow night?
I think the most important thing.
the sewer's always been important, and the position of planning and development, that's huge.
Did we get our little,
What about the grant program?
yeah, did the grant program?
Well, you can, the grant program has been, the funding, yes, and we're trying to get that on the website.
Yeah.
Okay, so we
Yeah,
have.
so the application itself is finalized, it just
Yeah.
needs to actually be posted on the website.
Right.
And we have to drop one of our.
Okay,
things
great.
which are already posted
Hey,
because we have free space, that's what I thought.
Just one thing on the funding. These are applications for grant funding from EDC, right?
Yes.
Yes.
So the town attorney developed a contract, which I looked at. That's a good contract. It's very kind of standard, but there's a requirement to name, there's extensive insurance requirements as well as requirements to name the town as an additional insured. And if the grantee is a major sophisticated entity, I guess, who has somebody, you know, that whose job is to work on insurance stuff, okay. But, you know, for a $500 type grant, I think we've done a lot in the past. But I would just look at that and say, are you kidding me?
Yeah.
So I would hope that there's, I mean, it seemed, I know the town wants to protect itself as it should, but it seemed this contract, again, if I had a grant application of a few $100s, I would, it's way, I think, beyond what, the kind of small groups we're trying to help to do. And I know we want to support the visitor center, and I don't know if even the visitor center would want to have all these insurance requirements, and it's not putting on, it's not building things or anything like that. But I don't know, Sue, if you had a
It's
in the contract.
Paul, it's in
to
the
receive
contract, right?
funds.
Not the application itself.
it's not in the application, it's in the contract, but I think if we, if we know that's in the contract, you probably have to give a heads up or provide a copy of it. Here's a
Right, you gotta
contract.
put it in the application.
Right, again, I have no problems with how it's drafted. It's very standard kind of thing, but just I don't think it has context for a smaller kind of.
Right.
But you get $500 to make a big difference in certain events.
Can you give me an example, Paul? Like, I don't understand, because I've never seen the contract, so I don't understand what he's, so there's a liability to the town or to the entity?
The contract lists the types of insurance that the vendor must have,
Okay.
and it must also provide certificates that the insurance policies have included the town of Scituate as an additional insured. Again, that's standard on, large grant funding things, and certainly for kind of things that, are more likely to lead to potential liability, like building or designing something.
Like the marina contract, it's the same thing. The town has to be an additional insured.
None of them.
Anyways,
so
it struck me as
Yeah.
We don't
pretty much eliminate any small.
Well, there's the visitor center.
Does Linda have some insight? She's raising her hand.
Oh, sorry, Linda, yes, do you
Yeah,
have
I
some?
just, I don't know how to get my hand down now, but, oh, there we go. I haven't seen the contract or anything. I imagine it probably applies to something like if people are asking to build a sign or build something. And in my experience, having somebody added on as an additional insured doesn't cost the insuree anything. It just is an additional, you just get it put on, like it doesn't cost anything. But if you're just asking, if the visitor center is asking for $200 for marketing, well, you don't need insurance for that. But if somebody's asking for money for a playground, then they absolutely would have to have insurance. And I think the EDC would be nuts to lend them money if they didn't have insurance. So I don't think the cost is a problem. I'm so sorry I have my dogs here. Stop it. Oh my God. But I don't know that for fact, but that's been my experience with PTOs. And we get insurance for Heritage Days for the vendors because they're serving food, that the town of Scituate has to be additional insured. Untold does it. So it's kind of a standard practice, and I don't believe it costs anything.
Okay, well, maybe we'll just pull it out and look at it again and see what we talk
Yeah,
to.
maybe just depending on the type of funding requested, like if it's an event versus if it's for
Lights.
marketing materials or lights or.
Right.
Although somebody get electrocuted, I guess, plugging the lights.
Well, I know, well, then it's like who draws the line
Being
as to.
That's okay.
Interesting.
Okay, well, thanks, Paul. Thanks for bringing that up. And thank you, Linda. Was there anything else for Karen? Anybody else? I think we've gotten enough out of you tonight.
Nice job. That's a lot.
Thanks, guys. Well, I'll stick I'll stick around off camera and just be around.
Oh, yeah, definitely do. I want you to hear some of the things that we're gonna talk about.
Yeah, absolutely. Okay.
Okay, great. All right, thanks.
Thank you, Karen.
Okay. Paul, do you want to give us if there is an update for Pier 44, Sharp?
Yes, we're in the stage, the phase of the process where there's discussions with the permitting agencies and applying for permits. We'll be entering into the phase 3 contract, I think pretty soon. Yep, in a couple of, maybe within a couple of months. So things are moving along. This is a little bit of the quiet part of the process where it's the engineers doing their job. So things are moving forward well, but no particular milestones to report.
Are you still looking at maybe 2025 to begin?
Yes, I mean, one of the things we, the engineers confirmed is that we will need the Chapter 91 permit because the flood resilient aspects, will touch the tideland, and we also learned that about half the property is within a tideland. It was half the property is kind of filled when it was developed, many decades ago. So it's still subject to the requirements that if you do something in the tideland, there are additional permitting requirements. And, that, my understanding is that will take about 10 months after the application is filed, and that's a couple of months away. So we're still hoping for 2025, but we'll see. We'll be refining the schedule, as we go forward and kind of confirm things.
Okay. Great. Thank you. Does anyone have any questions for Paul? Great. Thank you, Paul.
I'm next.
Are you next?
Yes.
Okay.
So I don't have anything to update because we haven't had a meeting since the last meeting, but we are having a meeting. It's postponed to August 30th because all the RFPs should be back that we can start reviewing. So we had done an RFP to get an engineer to sort of look at the site.
Yeah.
And the RFPs are out to bid, and I haven't gotten any communication about whether or not they're all back or who the people are, but we'll know next week. So
Great.
more to report.
Okay.
Did you get your aerial?
Yes, we did the drone, but you know what? I think it was, the data was very inconclusive.
Of course, yes.
They couldn't get at the actual data, so they sent a lot of stuff, information, but Corey had wanted to actually get even further underneath it, and they couldn't provide it, so on some level it was, maybe it wasn't a timeline. I mean, it was interesting, I guess, but not as conclusive as they really wanted.
As they had hoped.
So,
Okay.
so that's that.
Gina?
So just to sort of reiterate what we just spoke about with Karen, there is going to be a new application for groups that are seeking funding from the EDC going into this upcoming year. And that should be posted on the website soon for review. And as Paul was talking about the contract as well, will that also be on the website?
We can. So Susie, do you want to explain what we're waiting for here? We just have to decide what to remove.
Right, so
Because there's no room on the site.
post, and I learned that I cannot create room to post more. I have to take unpublished things which are on the website and then put our grant application up. So we have to decide what do we want to unpublish. The study, the wayfinding stuff, whatever is on there now. We have to find room for our grant application.
I
That's what we have to
wonder,
decide.
so I believe the wayfinding PDF is like the design requirements.
So maybe.
So should we combine it into or we could either get rid of it or combine it into the
Or maybe
grant
we can-
application PDF?
Or I wouldn't do that. I wouldn't put anything on the grant application. I think people are looking there to apply, so don't get them confused with anything else. But I think the wayfinding could also go,
Yeah, it's really just a document saying what has been
right.
done.
Okay,
Maybe
I wasn't sure if it was like saying if you're gonna have
Do you-
EDC funding.
Do you wanna take a look at it and see if it's relevant? That way-
Yeah, cause I guess I'm
okay.
just thinking like if it would be helpful to someone applying for funding,
Yeah,
then it could almost be like an appendix.
Okay.
Is this
To the
on the
application.
EDC
It
website?
is on the EDC.
it's on, so town's Scituate website and then EDC
And
page.
we have 4 bullet points.
So
I think,
you're,
on the-
so you're limited in what you can post on your.
Yeah,
website.
and I couldn't, we couldn't put the application where it's fillable on the site.
No.
They have to download it.
And
You
print it.
can't because the
There's not
town is not, the website is not set up for it.
Right.
And that's why we all want a new website, but there is no money for it and no desire right now. But I think that would be really.
Bet that communication person's gonna.
I hope.
I don't know, that might be better anyway, because it's really hard to work with a fillable PDF.
It's fine.
It's better to
You
just
can
have
just
it.
download it, it's not,
You can download it, you can fill it in, I tried that.
you can
buy
save
it,
it,
so that-
yeah, it's not,
Yeah.
it's just like a,
As someone who uses Adobe all
And
day
then you
long.
can send it via email to somebody else. So
Yeah.
It's not that you have to print it and put it into
Yeah.
the mail, so.
Yes.
so that's the report.
Yeah, that's the report, is that it is not yet posted, but hopefully by the next meeting it will be posted, and then we would love to hear from the public about comments about it. And we look forward to everyone's future applications.
Okay. All right, so Barry and Grace have preliminary plans.
Preliminary plans, we have a plan for a plan. We decided to jump in at the deep end of, yes, yeah, jumping at the deep end of bureaucracy, sorry. Well, Grace and I have been meeting a bit over the past month, and she blessed me with the one who gets to speak today, but I want to assure everybody that despite my voice being used, most of the good ideas come from Grace, and I appreciate that. Yeah, we just wanted to report on what we've been talking about and where we're going. And we've been asked by the commission and by Sue to look into a communications, or beefing up our communications plan, figuring out what needs to be improved and how we can do it. And so we, coming from essentially the new guy on the block's perspective, looked at this from a necessarily naive perspective. We've both been to a number of EDC meetings prior to joining the commission, but we are not as steeped in history here as everybody else is, and we tried to turn that into an advantage. And started with what's our mission? We're here to enhance the business community, attract new businesses, attract new customers, redevelopment, but also importantly, to be taking our orders from certain people and be reporting to certain people, and the select board and the planning board who represent the people. And so we started there, and Grace stated our goal. I think it's an important one of becoming an expert. One of the sort of undergirdings of what we were discussing was becoming expert in the needs of our local business community, and strengthening communications in order to better serve that community. And why do we do this, right? Why are we looking for that goal? And we believe that the EDC is most effective with clear and transparent communication. Clear communication is fair, and it creates the best conditions for growth. Furthermore, having recently been on the outside of government, we understand how quickly the fog of communication can seem very thick. And now being on the other side and just having asked a few questions and being able to understand, oh, you sign up for emails, you go to the website. It's also very easy to understand what's going on. And so one thing we've observed is that from the town government or board or commission side, sometimes a little too lax with my verbiage here, one can feel our communication is not bad. We put everything out there. And so we realized that we have to approach this very humbly, from the idea that if the citizen doesn't feel served, if the business doesn't feel served, then the service isn't there. And so here's where we are. We've identified 5 to 6 groups of stakeholders where we want to be going out and speaking to them to understand what their needs are so that we can figure out what our follow-up and our product really becomes at EDC. And so the idea is using communication as a tool for how we, with our limited resources, can figure out how we communicate in the future. So here's where it is, and I've reorganized this since we spoke to be a little bit sort of most important first. And the most important, based on our mission, are the business owners of Scituate. And this is obviously a very large group of people and organizations. And so Grace and I, over the next month, we're going to be a little bit light on details right now as to exactly how these levels of communication with stakeholders are going to be effected. But very likely this will include a stakeholder survey. Thankfully, we both have a little bit of experience in stakeholder surveys, but a really big deal here is that we are obviously trying to serve our constituency, but our constituency also has day-to-day business that is quite frankly more important. And so our couple goals for how we're going to communicate with people, how we want to design our communication is easy to do, coming in at the right time, asking relevant questions in a thorough manner, but not tipping over into too much. We can follow up. And then, so there's survey, but also targeting some one-on-ones. And then once we get feedback from the survey, having more one-on-one discussions. The second 2 sets of stakeholders would be the select board and the planning board, to whom we report and to whom we are responsible as a commission, and then the town hall. And coming from the ignorant townsperson standpoint, I used to think those were the same thing. They're not, and I think this commission just in the last several months has really started to see where understanding the needs of the select board, how we can fit within the select board's priority of communication as one of their top 3 priorities for the next year, how we can work with, not against, and make sure that our commission is truly serving is going to be very important. And then with the town hall, where we are working to deliver things. We recently, of course, ran into maybe some miscommunications around the grant application. And so getting out ahead of this as part of a robust communications plan is one of our goals. Other boards and commissions I have on here as a stakeholder, but really so that we can serve maybe our highest and best coordinating capability and really understanding what all the other boards and commissions can do and how we, again, with our limited resources and our limited time, can take business people's enhanced communication and say, here's something that can happen. We think we can figure this out for you. It's not something we can do, but this commission is really set up to do this, or there isn't something set up. Let's move into problem solving. Comparable organizations, so thriving business owners in the town and in the region are probably worth going out and speaking to on a one-on-one basis. Understanding what obstacles they overcame, how they overcame them, how we can take their learnings and pass them along in the best way possible. And then finally, and this is certainly a last but not least, citizens and consumers, right? The public, and I like to think of as the source of the next great Scituate business, right? We are not the minds in the room, we are the people who are passing along the concerns and acting on those concerns and trying to promote the future success of the town. But also we have principles of open government and accountability. And I think that on our day-to-day, this kind of thing could help, right? We were just talking about our website, limited website space, but we have our founding document. We have other documents from the past of the archive of this commission. We're just understanding that history and having a bank where we could see it and the public could see it would be, we believe, something that would really help to communicate what we do, which feeds into our success and help the public understand how to access us and use us as a resource. Our next steps are to turn these stakeholder priorities into a concrete plan that we're going to bring to the board or to the commission in September. And that will have action steps. If there's any budget to be put around this, we are hoping to be able to have some estimates on that, what our expected level of effort will be, timelines. Really broadly from a timeline, we're hoping that we can have a lot of really strong learnings back, likely in the first quarter of next year, to be able to start increasing our service level, really understanding exactly what it is we're going to be doing, because we know what people want us to be doing. Finally, just want to note that we both realized that businesses are right now weighted towards business districts. So a survey, for instance, would really be speaking to a number of districts more than some others, and we want to figure out ways to make sure to include the perspectives of the West End and Hummerock as part of this plan, and as we scope people's needs, because especially we're representing businesses that are and businesses that will be. And so making sure that voices that may be underrepresented are included is something that is part of our next month's work. Again, we wanted to acknowledge the importance that the select board is doing sort of a similar exercise, making sure to focus on communications. It's like thrilling news in the context of this, that there will be a dedicated person in town to be working on issues like this. And just as a lot of communications issues were talked about, I was thinking that my report might be, we don't need to do anything, looks like everybody's got it, but we're gonna kick the tires anyway. Grace, is there anything that you would like to add?
Yeah, no, I think I would just double down on, the priorities that Karen laid out for the select board. I see two kind of, the two most relevant takeaways I see connecting with our plan would be, one, what Mary is speaking to, that they are prioritizing creating the infrastructure for communicating. And I think what we're hoping to do is to be able to, after this report, connect and operate in lockstep with whatever infrastructure the plan for the town is, so that we are trying to create some efficiencies in how we communicate. And I think we all know it's not a more thing, it's having a hub that is usable and creates access, because we don't have a problem with having assets that communicate things in the town. It's finding them and knowing the places to go where you can easily access them. So I think that being one of our priorities is really important. And the second one is, looking forward, we're hearing, finally we're gonna get the funding to start designing for North Scituate. And what that means in terms of the communication is we can focus on need finding right now, both from businesses who have done really well in the area and businesses who are currently in those location, to understand their needs and start to try to address them in order to attract and retain businesses over the long term, especially since we know there is light at the end of the tunnel. So trying to get these things, these needs visible and understood, so that we can start being actionable and create solutions for them, are two, of the things I'm most excited about this plan. So.
Good job. You guys definitely hit it out of the park. Yeah.
Well,
It's all the things that you're talking about, and you kind of are putting it all together.
we are really hoping that thank you, and we understand that there have been talented people on the EDC since EDC began. And even just as some of our meetings went on, Grace has had conversations with folks who were on the EDC back 2016 era, and just some of the things that they were discussing there was similar enthusiasm and similar great ideas, and we want to be conscious of the fact that there have been talented, enthusiastic people here for a long time who have started great things, and it is hard to continue great things and make them actionable for a long time and make them representative. And so please don't judge us right now, for better or for worse. We are hoping that this is something that can make our lives, quite frankly, easier to create a sustainable
Yes.
service organization for the citizens.
And right now, the onus of communication has been so heavily put on individuals, and the hope is to try to remove some of that so that, you know, all the knowledge of how EDC can add value to business districts across Scituate isn't, you know, solely located in
Our minds.
our minds.
Yeah.
That it is
Yeah.
correctly messaged and directed at the right audiences in places where they go and can see it.
Well, it's good. I mean, I've had a business in town for 11 years and I didn't know what the EDC was until I was asked to be on it.
Yeah.
For 2 years, 3 years, or whatever it
And
was.
she's still.
So, but like I didn't know, and even when I tell the North Scituate people that I'm going to meet, they're like, what is that? Like, we still don't, you know, it's still not clear. So I think that would be very valuable to have, because
I think what also would be really helpful is that if we could revamp our website, and there's not a lot of space, which I learned, but we could.
well, I didn't even know where to be honest.
Yeah.
When I was looking for the Zoom, I didn't even know where to look for the link for, and this is maybe not being involved in this, but when you were like, the Zoom link's on the website, I'm like, where's the website? And I didn't know, and then so then I ran over here, because I'm like, I didn't know what the Zoom link was. So I don't even know where the website is.
Yeah, Town of Scituate. And then
Oh,
you go
okay.
to Town of Scituate EDC and you come to our.
Okay, so I should have known
Yeah, it's
that,
like under
sorry.
like the government tab.
Oh, okay,
Yeah.
I should have known that.
You know, what I wanted to do
No,
is
you-
I wanted to create a
Not
button.
true.
I wanted to create a button on our town's website. It does not have to be under EDC, it could be just where all the buttons are, but how to start a business in Scituate. And then all the applications you need to
Yes.
have, you know, that would be so helpful for new businesses, you know?
Well, it would, because you need, even just for
Yeah.
instance, like I had to get application just to get my sign up, and
Right,
this and that,
right, right.
fire person to come
The
in, and
license.
I had to learn that through going
So,
to town hall.
right.
Maybe one of the takeaways for Barry and Grace is the interviews should be with EDC as well.
Yes.
That
Right?
some of the things that we have heard
Yes.
that are challenged for a lot of people. And when I was speaking with Grace earlier about, attracting small business to Scituate, and you don't have to say who the business is or what their name is, but her experience is that she knows people that live in Scituate, but their businesses in Cohasset or Hingham.
Yeah.
And so we wanna know why. Is it the demographic, is it, so that's the outside conversations.
And I also wanna, these are great points in jogging my memory, which was to make sure to conclude this with asking everyone in here, one of the things that we're gonna be doing over the next month is starting to get to the start of not only how do we reach out to people, but the very next thing will be how do we design a really effective survey? And a really effective survey could be, because what I would take as what you just said is that's an assumption. And I think it's a really good one. If you look through my very, very tough to read notes, I have technical assistance in there a few times, and my strong assumption is that we will find that technical issues, and those are frequently just, how do I start this? 'Cause
Right.
an idea is easy to get. How do I take that from point A to point B? Because I have no idea how to go to the Scituate website and look,
Event planning.
and
How do I have an event?
and that's something that
Yeah, what
is,
firm is doing it, what insurance,
and these could end up being low effort,
Yeah.
high value additions, and I think that what we're gonna be able to identify with good question design
Yeah.
is where the lower effort, sort of low hanging fruit, but extremely high value areas are, and that kind of thing would, sometimes the answer would be, I need to go hire an attorney and I need to pay a lot of money that I may not have yet because I don't have my loan to figure out what permits to get. And if that's something that we can just sort of hand in a package,
Yeah, or
So-
it could be frequently asked questions, or,
and we're gonna figure out what the frequently asked questions are. And so this is still at the assumption stage, but I would be very surprised if we didn't hear some strong demand for exactly that. So I wanna ask all of you, and we wanna ask all of you, if you, over the next month, can take this as a homework assignment, the what, based on these, these constituents, looking forward, thinking, okay, there's gonna be some interviews, there's gonna be some surveying, there's gonna be other, hopefully creative means of communication to get feedback from folks. What questions do we wanna make sure that we're asking? What do we wanna find out? Are there reasons we wanna find out? What assumptions do I have that we can make sure to be designing into this communication plan? We would appreciate your
That's
assistance.
great. Does anyone on Zoom have any questions?
Or comments?
Karen, the new communications person, is going to have to be working very hard.
Okay, can we keep that quiet until after interviews?
Yes.
Okay. Great job. Thank you. We're looking forward to the next, I mean, I have to follow with my report next. I'm really not sure I'm gonna follow you guys.
Well, just quickly, Sue, do we still have access to the Scituate Loves Local Business Survey, just as like a base model template?
Oh, yeah, we may, yes. Actually, Karen, you must have that, right?
Say that again, you broke up,
The
what?
the Scituate Loves Local business survey that we had sent around, I believe it was a Google Doc, but I'm just saying we could use it just as like a starting point template for questions.
That's a great idea.
Yes, I haven't looked for it for a couple of years, so see if we can locate that.
Well, I'm thinking too, I believe it was a woman, Heather, who designed it, and I don't
Yeah,
know if
she's
maybe.
with Aubrey. Yeah,
Oh, okay, then,
yeah.
yeah, if she's easy
Yeah.
to
We might be
talk
able to reach
to,
out to her, yeah.
just because she might have like control over
Yeah,
the document,
I
I don't know.
I know I did not, so we'll have to check and see where that's living right now.
I guess that was my thought as well, Karen, is I think there was like issues with access, so. Technical.
There's always
difficulties.
I was just gonna say. Ironic.
No, but that's important, right? It's understanding, even just getting some learnings there, right? What were the things where people came back and said, this is ridiculous, where did you get better response rates, why?
Right.
Those kind of learnings are really important.
Right, I was saying to Barry and Grace earlier that, again, similar to what I said to Karen, is we don't wanna lose trust. And, you know, we have the potential to lose trust with not enough information or not the right information. So this is an important piece of what they're going to help us figure out.
And that survey was sent at a very different time.
Yes.
That was
Yeah, that was
2020,
during
that
the
was when it shut
pandemic.
down.
Right.
So I don't know if I would look at the responses as the same,
Sure.
you know, because that was definitely a whole different.
I guess that's what
with
I'm
the
thinking is
businesses,
if
it's a real
it was
different-
driving towards business needs, so it might be a good template.
Yeah,
But yeah, I
But
agree,
that
maybe the
was-
results
the
wouldn't be
results
as
were not-
helpful
it was
because
a
it's all
completely
pandemic
different-
focused.
yeah,
That was how can we help you?
yes,
Yeah.
yeah, and it was a completely different.
Yeah, how can we help you weather the
Hopefully that is
storm?
in the past.
Hopefully that, yes,
We won't copy paste, how about that?
yeah, no,
Revisit that.
yeah, so the answer is maybe completely.
Linda, I forgot to put you on the agenda. Do you have any report for
Nope.
advisory? What's
No,
that?
I mean, no,
No?
we just had a meeting to, firm up some, last minute housekeeping things from like last year or something, but other than that, advisory has not, started the next year's process yet.
Okay. And how was your, on another note, how was your Heritage Days weekend?
For the hotel, it was, fine. We usually have weddings that weekend, so we don't get a ton of business that's directly going to Heritage Days, but they, some people actually plan their wedding on Heritage Days weekend. Most try and avoid it, but we had good feedback. I mean, Heritage Days went off well, and I did talk to a couple of people that ran it, and they got good feedback from their vendors. So the restaurants look busy in the harbor, so.
Yep, it seems a gorgeous weekend.
Yeah, it was a
Yep.
good weekend.
Yep. Okay, great, thank you.
Oh, I'm sorry. Plymouth County Development Council, they had the first, I don't know if you guys saw it, but the first cruise ship arrived in Plymouth Harbor
Oh,
this
yes.
past weekend.
No way.
Wow.
Yeah.
It's coming in like 4 times?
How
3 times?
big?
3 or 4 this year, yeah. And So, it's not obviously a huge cruise ship, but I mean, getting them to stop there and then, of course, the process of making sure that the businesses and everything are open on Sunday, which I think is a little bit, trying down there, but,
Yes.
but it's so exciting because it's going to be another means to, bringing, business to the area. And they're, not sure what step they're in to possibly build a convention center down in that area. Most of the pieces of property they looked at were all in the Plymouth area, and they're leaning towards pairing the convention center actually with a hotel, which makes sense because you can get much bigger conventions in there, and the state seems to be supporting it. So that's another huge boon if it goes through to help the whole of Plymouth County. So, and the final thing, I guess I did have stuff, sorry. The other thing they're working on is, I think the initials are RTCC or something. It's another tax that Boston has already done. It's the regional tourism centers. So the Plymouth County would be, like a regional tourism center. I think there's like 6 or 8 in the state. Yeah, and they're gonna, at some point, form a committee to try and go out and convince the hotels in Plymouth County to agree to a 1% to 2% tax on hotels only. That the money would then go directly back to the Tourism Council of Plymouth County. And that is then spent on marketing and things like that for the county. So, it's kind of a bummer in one sense, because I'd like to see the whole 1% or 2% come right back to Scituate, but I have to trust the process, and I do trust Lee Filson emphatically. So, but it's going to be a process because hotels already pay, we already pay 9.7% in taxes already. And 2% here and 2% there. It doesn't sound like a lot, but it hurts the ability of the hotel to increase their rates to match, cost of living increases and stuff like that. So, but that's a little bit down the road because they have to form a committee to then convince all the hotels to do it. So, but
it's similar to the Meet Boston
Meet Boston thing.
presentation.
Yes.
Okay, anything else?
No, I think that's it. Sorry.
All right, great, thank you. Anyone have any questions? Okay, the Community Leaders Forum. So let's see. We started, the EDC hosted a Community Leader Forum at the Scituate Safety Building in December. I think was the first time we met.
Oh, that's right.
Mhm.
That big meeting.
Yeah,
Okay.
yeah. It was actually our December meeting.
Yeah, December
Okay.
2nd.
Yeah. The purpose of the meeting was to bring several town committees and organizations together to discuss a number of topics such as tourism, coordination of event planning, how groups could help each other for the benefit of all. Jim Boudreau made a quick few remarks. Peter Foreman made some remarks. And we had someone from Plymouth, Paula, I think. It was well received and the people were anxious to meet again. They were asked to think about what their organization needs and if they had any events that they were hoping to produce, what's their busy time, what's their slow time, that kind of thing. There was great energy in the room. We were able to make connections with each other and the dialogue began in the spring. We rallied around one possible town event, town-wide event, and held a sort of planning meeting in June. As it turned out, we were not able to pull that together, the pieces of that for that one particular event. So it was disappointing, but good news that we have an active group, which I'd like to reinvigorate in the fall. And I'm thinking actually this could be a great group for the purposes of communication. So you'll be getting an invitation to that. So this may help also design the survey. This is what I was thinking after we talked today earlier. So that's the forum report. I'm hoping it'll be in the fall. We'll know more in September, maybe when your thing is together, but we will reach out to that group and say, you know, something's coming.
And maybe rekindle the idea of the off-season events.
Yes,
We were talking.
yeah,
I think that was really one of our main reasons to bring everybody together, to get our businesses busy in the off-season. Because, you know, after October, Columbus Day or something like this, almost everything dies a little bit down in the harbor. And to keep the restaurants busy, how to create events which draws people into the town, you know.
Right.
Snowman, whatever, ice
Yeah.
cube, what, you know, whatever we can think of.
Jingle bell or something.
Yeah,
Yeah.
something fun.
That's great.
Susan,
To the
Visitor Center?
I missed all of them.
You missed all of
All of the
July.
last meetings, so
Yeah.
I'll get back to you next time I do it, because I was not here.
Well, actually, the visitor center has not met for a couple of weeks. There's been side meetings and things like that. So I think we should bring someone back from the visitor center in
Right.
September.
Yeah, okay, so what I have from the visitor center, which we put up a really nice banner at Nona's Ice Cream.
Oh, yeah.
And people love it, as my son does. Here it is. Nona's Ice Cream. Oh, yeah, you take it. Yeah, so it's really, it's nice. And we have another one for North City. We have to, you know, we have to find a space to maybe present that too. We wanted to see if this banner maybe have more clicks on our website, if we, you know, get more attention and see how it goes, and then we'll.
Could you put up a playground in this?
Yeah, I think that would be a great
Yeah,
space.
so-
Okay.
It's difficult because it's town property.
I know,
Yeah.
that's what you told me.
Yeah.
I had a lot of ideas,
I've been gerbils.
the old train
That's
center,
the
we would have
WPA
been a really nice location too, but that's town property too.
Town.
So, and we can't do that.
I think that
Maybe
that's
Tracy
more
said it.
expensive than having
We
the
already
tent
asked.
at Heritage Days.
And nobody has to stand there for
Well,
12
yeah,
hours.
yeah, like we did.
Yeah, like we did for 2 years.
No, I thought that, like during Heritage Days, every time I pass it, I just thought it was great visibility.
Yes.
So,
Yes.
yeah,
Yeah.
so I don't know, were you able to collect data or anything
I'm,
on?
I'm hoping
Can
I'm
you
gonna
use
see a
the
bump on the
QRC
website.
code?
That's what.
Maybe climb it while they're, because it's like where the turn is.
Yeah, I thought about maybe co-op too, that would be good because it's right at the traffic light where people stop and, you know, you always look around. That would be really
Well,
good.
we'll put that out to the visitor center universe.
Yeah.
Amy?
So the kiosk, thank you, it's still there. How do I, okay, so I contact the guy who we met.
Yeah.
He no longer works there. Yeah, so I emailed them at the end of July, when you emailed me.
Yeah.
And I said, okay, let's set up a time, and she said in the beginning of July the end of July. And then she said, I'll get back to you with the date, and then she never got back, and then I was away, actually on a cruise to Alaska, so then the cruise, I'm telling you, that brings a lot of people in. So then, I just got back, I'm sorry, so then I emailed her, and she's like, oh yeah, you were on my mind, whatever, anyway, so they're putting it in August 31st.
Oh.
But I have to get it from them. I'll contact Shari, because she's the one who ordered it for me. Shari Young, should I contact her?
She ordered what?
She ordered the kiosk for me, from the town, she
Oh,
was from
right,
the town.
Right, oh, hi.
I know
Yeah,
her, so
sure.
should I
Yes, absolutely.
Should I just email her?
Yes.
Hopefully it's there, I mean, still. She said it came in,
I'm
okay.
sure it is.
All right, I'll contact her to get it, and then somehow because I can't meet them that morning, but I'm gonna meet them before, like, to see where we're gonna put it. We're gonna put it right next to where the other sign is, like, so, Caitlin and I went down from the makery, and there's like the sign right there that says the playground.
Yeah.
And then there is like another space between, there's 2 trees, because we were looking like across near where the grass is, that's not good, because people just kind of hang out. If they're looking at that sign, and then there's a little bit of a space to have another sign,
Yeah.
would that sound good? So then they're both kind of right there between the trees in like kind of the dirt area?
Sounds
Okay.
good.
All right, I didn't mention anything yet to the other North Situate yet until it was done.
Because you know they want
Yeah, I think so.
Yeah.
There's not that great communication with all of us, but yes, communication is not.
Playground.
But yes, I think it will be great. The only thing I know that people were hesitant when I first brought it was that we had to get everything approved. Like, they were like,
Yeah.
what is this about? Like that you, okay, cause that was the thing, that they were like, what is this? Because we have a key.
We can make that easier.
Okay, alright, cause I think that was the
Yeah.
only really hesitation to do it, but I do think that, I think it will be good, I'd be psyched to have my stuff, you know, I think people will be psyched just to have some paper
Right.
stuff there.
What
Yeah.
about people that don't have kids that go to the playground?
What?
What about people that don't have kids that don't go to the playground? Like in terms of seeing the kiosks, does it, I mean, is there,
Oh,
that's the only thing I would say is that
I don't know where else we, what, yeah, we could, I don't know where
I
else
think
though,
the
that's
playground is
a,
the most frequented, place by foot.
in North
I mean,
Situate, yeah.
if you could.
I mean, I'm just, I,
the
Yeah, yeah,
island.
no,
just
No, that was
I
good that
just
you
wanna
said that.
understand.
Yeah, no, you're right. I
We're
think
talking about the one in the MBTA one?
Yeah, no, the only other location I would.
yeah, that playground.
Yeah, yeah, would be, on the little green island where the traffic light is, where the train canopy is, you know, where the parking lot is. That's something because people have to wait for the train, for the light to come, and you would see it really easily then too.
I think that at some point, there may be going to be an effort to put kiosks around town.
Right.
Yes.
So I think you should take the one you have and do what you would.
Do it in the
You may not want as big a one
Exactly.
necessarily in the
Yes.
middle of town, you could have something.
Yeah,
smaller,
or just
but-
consistent,
Yes.
consistent. I think actually it was Linda that brought it up the last time,
Yeah.
to maybe,
Right.
you know, try to.
Okay, but
Once we
this
get our
one, we all,
communication.
that it should go in the
Yes,
playground?
What did you call that, board? No, what was the one in Vermont?
Oh, the town of Groveland in Vermont had, they called their board the town crier.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, and it was very successful, it's like to this day, you go back to Woodstock, Vermont.
Yeah, that was, so we go to Woodstock too, and it's this massive.
Oh, no, yeah,
Yeah, so we have this, yeah, it's the massive, like,
it's
Chalkboard.
essentially a chalkboard, yeah, and they'll do different art seasonally and things like that out there, and people are attracted by what's going on here,
Yeah,
and people who know what's going on there are still attracted, they don't get bored by it, it's, yeah.
yeah, but
That's,
it's
that's
like
so interesting that that's.
massive, it's like the size of.
Yeah.
Yeah, but it's, okay, so that all right, if we put it in?
Yeah.
Okay.
yeah.
And then,
It was
for,
For sure.
fall for Scituate, the North Situate merchants used to co-sponsor it with the chamber, but like Jean always kind of put it on, and we helped her do it. Well, last year, there was just, the merchants are all busy with their own stuff, it just kind of got a little crazy. So basically, we talked to Jean, and the Rotary Club is actually gonna take it over with Jean and half sponsor it. Was that something that should have been approved by somebody before?
No,
No,
you guys,
okay.
you can do whatever you want.
But, I know, but we're still gonna like do our stuff, like I'm still gonna do the kid zone in there and do all that stuff, they're just gonna kinda help her run it. I think the businesses, like I was kinda doing it with Jean, I was like, you know what, and everyone had all these different ideas, and then I was like, does anyone else wanna take it over? And no one else wanted to take it over with Jean, and I'm like, well, and people were like, why are we gonna
So
still do
Jean
it?
is the Jean,
Still doing it? No.
what? Is Jean,
From the chamber, right?
Oh, from the
Maybe, or-
but is Jean
Jean
doing it
Delacour.
from the chamber or just
From the
on her
chamber.
own?
No,
The
so
Rotary.
she's doing it with the chamber again,
Oh,
like,
okay.
she's representing the chamber.
Yeah.
Is that Jean
I don't know.
Delacon? Who's that? Hi, Jean?
Dear,
She on there?
I don't know which gin that is.
She joined after introduction,
I know.
so.
I don't think that's acceptance, that's opening. I think it's GDA, yeah. Just Jean.
Yeah.
Anyways, Jean, we love you, you're great. We do, I do love you. But anyway, so she was, she's the one who does like the
The
calendar or
vendors and
whatever.
everything, right?
She does all the vendors, she basically does it all. But.
She does the.
Yeah, so she's still gonna do it, but the Rotary Club is kind of co-sponsor it with her and kind of put in some money, just kind of how we did and help her more do it. But I just sent an email out to all to North Situate merchants, because we met a while ago, and I was like, does anyone else want to take this over? There was just a lot of like last year, a lot of stuff, and they're like, I don't know, whatever. Because everyone had all these different opinions about wanting to more take it over. and whatnot.
Yeah.
So, but then I think I said we can also do our stuff, like I'm still gonna be part of it with the Kids Zone that I did and sponsor that. I'm still gonna sponsor that as EDC meeting, and the Makery's still gonna help me do it. and everyone else can still do it, but they're gonna kind of like.
Yeah,
tell us.
Coordinate the whole thing.
Yeah, with her, she basically does it.
Is there an anticipated date for that?
Yeah, it's October 15th.
Okay. Is that earlier or later? Because I know weather seems to always be.
So how we do it is it's all based on the Patriot schedule. So that's how
That's
we
a
do
good
it.
idea.
Yeah. So that's really how we do it. We all base it Sunday on the Patriot schedule and like, cause it's from like 12 to 4 or something.
Mhm.
So we always try to find a game that's away at night or that they have a bye or something. So
Mhm.
we never do like a home game, so that's really how we pick the days, the Patriot schedule.
Okay.
So that's why it's different every year. And we don't want it too close like the end of September is just too close to the beginning of school. And then sometimes it is later and it's a pain, but it's really, that's how we do it. We wait for that schedule to come out. Cause if the Patriots playing at 1, no one's gonna, like a home game, no one's gonna come down there between, or not a lot of people, you know, kids with families and all that.
No, that makes sense.
Yeah,
Just thinking about the area too, so like, I know you mentioned, I don't know if it was last month or maybe 2 months ago, that Board 143 was expanding. Do you know,
yeah, so
like,
they're,
what
yeah,
renovation schedule or?
yeah, no, I don't know. I think they were having, I think it was just more like, contracting stuff that they were having problems, like getting contractors.
Right.
So I think that was the problem, was getting contractors. I don't know how it's going now, but I know that they took over Mary Lou's. I
Yeah.
think they're making like a little coffee shop or something like
I
that.
think they extended.
Oh, nice. I was just
Yeah,
curious
so
if
I
it
think
would
the
be like
kitchens
ready
will
for
go-
the event, you know?
Yeah, their kitchens, they'll definitely do something. Like they've
Yeah.
always done something, like they'll do a tent, like a beer, and last year they had like a food truck and all that stuff out there. But they're doing the coffee in there, and then, and I do think Carrie's kitchen is gonna be in there.
Yeah.
And then they're gonna expand the store, so her kitchen's like to expand the store that way. But the last I heard, I don't know, my husband was talking to Mark, and I think it was that they were just, it was more of not a town thing, I think it was like a contractor thing.
Okay.
Don't quote me on that, but I think that's what it was, they were just trying to get like people,
Okay.
but not 100% sure, that's
Okay.
why, they definitely took it over.
Great.
And everything else, in North Situate seems fine, like, people always, well, I would say, like, people always think North Situate's bad, but like, the businesses that have been there for a long time.
Yeah.
You know, like, it's a great place for services, for people to come. Like, when I was looking just to expand, to start my business, I didn't wanna go to the harbor because people are coming to me, like, for 40 minutes an hour. I own the ABC meeting down North Situate. But people are coming in and out, and it's good parking, and then I expanded it to another, or opened up another one, and I only want to stay in North Situate, because it's just good to all the other areas in the South Shore.
Yeah.
Yeah, to all the other towns, and that's how I know like Caitlin Fields and the bakery too, and all those,
Yeah.
so, yeah, so it's a good place to be.
Sure.
Yeah, yeah, so that's
Well,
that,
thank you very much.
yeah.
Thanks for running over.
I know, sorry.
Okay, so Shelley couldn't come, sick child. She wanted to say though, Kennedy's Country hired an events director earlier this year, and they have been hosting numerous events for adults and kids, very successful. Kel Mahoney hosted a Jaws themed art show in July, which saw record attendance. That never gets tiring, the Jaws thing. It's unbelievable. Untold and Greenbush Package Store co-hosted a successful beer garden at Heritage. Sky Sail, which is the new development next to the MBTA in Greenbush, has not opened, no information to report there. And that's about it, that's all she had to say for now, she'll be here in September.
I just heard yesterday, actually, they had the cure for cold. I don't know
Yeah,
if
yeah.
you remember that.
Yeah, and Untold, yeah.
And Untold, because they couldn't have a pickleball tournament, which is a humongous.
Oh, it was the fields.
At the fields, because the fields are,
Oh, so good.
they couldn't,
Or
no,
they
no,
couldn't-
no,
no, they're not available.
Yeah, they're not available.
Oh, jeez.
So that event, which is a really, really big event, wasn't able to happen, but I guess they had it,
They had it
on
anywhere,
Untold.
yeah, that's good, yeah,
Which
they
is
had
great.
Untold, that I heard.
I'll make things happen.
They certainly do,
Mhm.
they certainly do, they have good communication.
Yeah,
Yeah.
the fields are looking good, by the way, like, on the positive side, it looks like it's gonna be something.
Nice.
Yeah.
Does anybody know anything about the construction at the Greenbush site? When they are done, when they can move in?
When? Oh,
The
where?
Greenbush site, the train, the
So
construction site.
that's
Oh,
the
the
Sky
Sky
Sail.
Sail.
The Sky Sail.
Yeah, that's what it's called, yeah.
So they don't have any information about
No, nothing yet.
I think if you look online, you can see like the spaces for lease.
Hmm.
But yeah, I don't think we have any information about
I mean, the
actually.
construction expense is still up, so I think you can't really go in there.
Yeah,
I think they plan to open April, right? That was the plan. April 2023.
Okay, so the last thing we have is the review of the beach commission pilot program. And has everybody taken a look at it already? So it's basically, it's not exactly this. Because they have already gotten some feedback from the select board. So she said, someone from the beach commission will come to our meeting and present it. Just
okay.
let us, I mean, did anybody have any other feedback that they wanted to share?
Well,
That I can share with her.
One bullet point was, it is not affecting residential parking at the beach. And how can you do that if you only sell 20 additional parking spots or parking paths? That will affect residential parking, because at Minot Beach, you can't get a parking spot in the high season in August or July.
But
Yeah.
this
There's
is
no
not
parking.
weekends. They're recommending no
No,
weekends.
That's no, yeah, but even
Even
during the
during the
week,
week,
it's packed,
or
it really is packed. So I don't know if it's Pagody or if Egypt is less full, but mine is packed, I know that for sure. And we really have to see, do we have those 20 parking spaces? Because if we sell them and people don't get parking
Park,
spaces
yes,
and they have to pay $20 per day, I think they will be very disappointed.
Right,
I don't know who really knows how many parking is empty at the beaches.
right.
I only had a question, they outlined some objectives, my question was, with the extra money, is there an intention behind it, or it would be helpful to see the big
It's
picture
not a lot of
in,
money.
in terms of, okay, we're gonna expand access, great. In
Right,
return, yes, the town sacrifices this, but they will also get, and I feel like I wanna fill in the blank and I don't know what it is, so
okay.
that was my big
Is it
takeaway.
garbage pickup, is it more restrooms?
Yeah, I mean, I don't think
Is it
anyone
more
is
than
against
beaches?
it, we're just
No.
trying to figure
Right.
out,
Can we do
how
this, can we pull it
yeah,
off, is the
right.
infrastructure there, do we have enough parking spaces to do
Right.
it?
I mean,
I'm not
it's-
against it, definitely not, but
It's not a lot of money. It's
Right.
$20
Yeah.
times 20 spaces,
yes,
$400.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like,
per week.
per week,
Yeah.
okay, so.
So,
Well, I think
For
so that is a
10
restroom,
weeks.
and that's a portable potty at
Maybe
least,
there,
you can pay for.
Well, I think similar to your point too, though, who's gonna enforce
Yes.
the parking?
Right.
And also, my question is 20 per day, what if someone buys 20 all for the same beach, or like, I know Peggy floods during certain times.
Yes.
Well,
Like the actual parking lot floods.
but I don't know if you can buy it for a particular
No,
beach.
right now you only can buy it for Pagody.
You could,
They
oh,
want to,
okay.
then they want to buy it for all beaches, so she's right, if you can buy for Minot, then
Yeah,
try to
Yeah,
park
if-
20 more cars at Minot.
That's,
Right.
yeah,
You know,
right,
so that is not feasible. I would rather invest into bike lanes or into rental bikes for these
Transportation.
RVs, yeah. I would rather do that than add parking.
Right.
or even consider maybe, let's say because the Peggy lot's bigger than the rest of them, you can do 6
Right.
per day that are reserved for Peggy spaces and then
Right.
1 for Minot. Or
right.
something like that, just to,
Yeah.
for the realities of what's actually
Or
there.
because it's summer, maybe there's an off-site parking lot and there's transportation
Right.
to
Oh, yeah,
all of the
yes.
beaches, wherever you wanna go. At 2:00, it goes
Right.
to Minot,
Yes.
at 3:00,
Yes.
depending on
Like
the
the
tide.
trolley and hub.
Yeah.
Which is great.
That's actually a really good idea.
Yeah.
That's a good idea.
And then Linda has her hand raised. Oh, hi Linda.
Hi, how are you?
Great.
So, I read through this and it seems like one of their goals is to kind of get tourism and traffic here and stuff.
Yeah, it seems
And,
like it.
and parking, Jean is right, Peggotty, after a bad rain or, high tide or something, half the parking lot's flooded. I don't know that it's ever been fully parked in. I think there's always a way to finagle a spot, but, especially during the week. But that could get dicey if there's an unlimited amount. But I know that, I had brought it up before and I think somebody else in this committee has, like, you know, if the idea is to encourage tourism traffic and get people to businesses, I think the beach commission would be better off sort of trying to come up with some marketing plan to promote, take the T to Greenbush, and then take the sloop to Peggotty.
Right.
And the same
Yeah.
thing, take, you know, park in Cole Parkway. If you don't want to take the T, park in Cole Parkway and take the sloop to the
Or
beach. And the sloop is now, the sloop,
high school.
I think the high school parking could be a problem if there's games or whatever, but regardless, there's plenty of places to park. And the sloop, if you look at their scope, it covers Peggotty, it does, and the lighthouse. It doesn't cover Egypt or Minot or anything like that. But it would encourage people to park in the harbor and then maybe go get pizza after, or park at Greenbush and maybe go grab a beer after. So I think that increasing the beach stickers, the way they do those, you can only buy one per car. So unless somebody goes in there with 20 cars, they can't get all 20. But they do monitor it. The police do monitor the beach parking. They absolutely do. So, you know, I think that they keep an eye on it, but maybe the idea would be, maybe they do open Peggotty to Monday through Friday instead of just Tuesday and Thursday, and then try and encourage the T or the sloop, because I think if you encourage ridership on the T, there, I think, and I'm not 100% sure, but I think there are grants involved and money that they might be able to get to help marketing to encourage T ridership. So, you know, that might be something, I don't know if I'll be around for the next meeting or not, but that might be something that they could concentrate on that would encourage tourism and not take up parking spots.
I guess the only thing is if you're doing that is how do you light your cooler? Your chairs, all your stuff, but maybe at that location, you can rent that stuff.
Well, anyway, we have some suggestions. Go ahead.
I think all of these feed for me into, there was one data point that stuck out for me, was that there were 8 passes purchased in the entire 2022 beach season. And so we're discussing a lot of issues that are legitimate issues for a full use system. There's some marketing in the bullet points here, but what strikes me is that there is a lot of opportunity for data to be gathered to figure out what the impact would be without being unduly blocking. I think what I'm hearing is a lot of people think it's a really good idea to try to get more people from out of town into the beaches, but how do we do that without having too much impact? I would just suggest that maybe this be explicitly a trial project, and with the output to be maybe tied to some data points that come back, tied to concerns that are brought up by everyone. And then the second opportunity that I see here is for the Beach Commission to work explicitly with the Bicycle Commission to discuss how bikes can be part of this solution. So bike racks at each beach would naturally increase the amount of parking for people and create, so there's the sloop, but also from, say, Cole Parkway, an enterprising business person might be able to rent some bikes, maybe cooler with wheels, I don't know. But it feels like there's an opportunity there, and I know that the Bike Commission would probably be more than happy to collaborate, but having a trial program with the explicit, let's gather some data goal, it certainly isn't as scary to me, because there's an opportunity here, but I think that there's a major fear, especially if you were at Minot yesterday.
Well, Saturday, my son went to it was Sunday, he went to 3 different beaches to try to find a parking spot. He ended up at Peggotty on the last spot.
Yeah.
And it was at like 1 o'clock, like it was packed.
It is packed.
Yeah.
And we have these 2 huge MBTA parking lots which are completely empty on Saturdays and Sundays. And you pay $5 for the day. That is so cheap if you have transportation from these.
Yeah.
These parking lots.
A regular-
Because usually you pay, in Hull you pay now $15, I think, to park your car.
And
So
and
is
those
it
five
$5
on the weekends? It's $2 usually.
I don't know, I only know the rate of doing the weekends.
Just went up to 5.
Is it,
what?
No, because I mean, I parked my car.
It's very little, right?
Yeah.
Well, okay, I do have a question related to enforcement. How much would a parking ticket cost? Because are people just gonna say, screw it?
$50.
$50,
50?
it's in there.
So it is 50, okay, so yeah, I missed that part, so I'm just
Yeah.
thinking, would somebody just take the gamble and
Yeah,
say,
it's
let's see if
$50.
they ticket me or not?
And they.
Okay, there we go. So it's, yeah.
And I guess I would agree, like, if you're renting a house,
Mhm.
you should be able to get the same privileges of the homeowner to be able to go to the beach, in my opinion. You're contributing to the economy, you're taking your kids out to marinas or whatever you're doing, you're definitely
Right.
in the community,
But
so.
that's hard because the beach stickers are adjacent to
I
your
think
license.
the answer is transportation.
Yeah.
Right.
That's to let them park.
Transportation is a big issue.
Yeah, but it already exists.
Yeah.
We just would have to make sure that it goes to the right
And
place.
communicate
And
it to be.
Are people
word
parking
again.
the golf carts at the beach? Did you guys see it in the harbor?
What's that?
People are parking like golf carts in regular parking spaces and stuff. I don't know.
Well, they're licensed
that-
to be on the road.
So would that be subject to something similar, I guess? I mean, I don't go to the
Yeah,
beach, but.
Well, some enterprising soul could be a golf cart.
Yeah,
Well, I
yes,
guess
yes.
when we were talking about how do you lug your
Yeah.
cooler and stuff, I'm thinking golf cart the
Yeah.
whole time.
But like the shuttle at the harbor master, right? They have a little shuttle that takes people to and from their boats.
Yeah,
That's not a bad idea.
the launch, yeah.
So I'll send them back some comments and,
You could pay some enterprising college kids to do that.
Well, that's all,
That's
yeah, the wheels.
so, yeah, there's all kinds of opportunities.
Yeah.
Okay, does anybody have anything else?
Grace, did you want to, you left those?
Oh, yeah,
here.
I asked
Yeah.
you to bring those.
These were just kind of like,
Tell them about your grandma.
but, so my grandma worked at this very library for, over 40 years. She was in the Mariner when it was Mariner, because they did a big party for her at the end of when she retired. As a benefactor of her working here at the little store, we have so many cool Scituate artifacts and historical books and things. And I thought it was really interesting. I brought in a couple of the pamphlets that were created about Scituate. And I mean, we have some of, this is 1961, 60s, but it's really interesting to see how they talk about the business infrastructure. And this one in particular seems to be like recruiting like buyers to Scituate.
Yeah.
And talking about the building, the new school building program that they have. And it's very cool. Because it also talks about, you know, the thriving business districts. It talks about how each neighborhood has like a general store, corner store. It's like kind of go back to, oh, wow, look at, you know, like
Kind of a
the
nice way
things.
of living.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And so I just thought it was, it's just a cool reminder of how Scituate has always kind of upheld their business districts in their community as like in the forefront of everything that makes Scituate Scituate. So if you want to take a look after, sorry online, and these are not available online unfortunately. But yeah.
For the flavor. Well, why don't we adjourn and then we can look at that. So, I'd like to adjourn at 8:03.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Great, thank you, thank you, Seth.
You got it. Have a
Thank
good
you,
night,
Linda.
everybody.